I actually used a couple of softwares to build this presentation. So I went to Perplexity Pro, gave my prompting that, I need to make this presentation in a room full of CIOs. What should I present? I said, 10 slides. The 10 slides came out. Then there's a software called GenSpark AI. If you have used that application, I fed the prompt that I got from Perplexity Pro, and you need to have a paid version of GenSpark AI to be able to get slides more than 2 or 3. And that's how I think majority of this presentation has come out, not 100% though, right? So I was told talk about, what are some of the early wins that I'm experiencing in my role as digital and AI officer, not just with what we are doing at TVS, but what I'm observing around me. Just to set some context, TVS competes with Chinese manufacturers and Chinese OEMs in places like Latin America and Africa, Middle East. So a lot of what I'm going to say is what I'm learning from what Chinese are doing in AI, right? So a lot of people spoke about early wins. And I think a lot of you in the room know about what kind of early wins we get. On the contrary, I'm going to talk about the set of companies and the enterprises who are in the top 5% who have moved beyond early wins. And they are using this as a strategic win to gain a bigger share of market, right? So, so who are these companies, right? If you look at the extreme left, these are the companies who have scaled AI effectively to gain market share. So let's take 2 examples. So for a lot of time, we saw Google search being, having 95, 96% global market share of search. But then here come a young guy from Chennai, Arvind Srinivas, and he has now got 5, 6% market share. So he's been able to eat market share from Google search. So while Google still is at probably 91, 92, but he's using AI to gain market share. Let's take another example, BYD, right? BYD has toppled Volkswagen in China. They are the #1 automotive 4-wheelers, EV and ICE. And it's not that they've done it only because of AI, but AI has a big role to play in helping BYD doing things much faster in what they do. So, I mean, just to give you an example, in automotive 2-wheeler, it typically takes 3.5, 4 years for you to conceptualize a bike by the time it comes to market. But if you work with some of the Chinese manufacturers, they are actually going to market with new products in a significantly shorter time. All because, the way they use AI for, synthetic testing, the way they use AI in their R&D processes, right? So what is there to learn from the companies that are in the median circle, right? A lot of companies whose CIOs are in the room, as well as I think the company that I work for, I categorize them in what we call as the P50, the median companies, right? They're beginning to get the early wins. But then what do we learn from the top 5%, 3% companies where they have moved towards, having, discussions with the CEO in terms of, how is it giving them a strategic imperative, right? So what exactly are they doing? Just a call out, I'm talking about traditional companies, not AI native companies, because traditional companies really need to worry about, how do you bring AI in the legacy ecosystem that you have. And what these companies are doing is they are very clear that enterprise AI is intentional, it is strategic. It is not just about buying softwares and tools, it is orchestrating tools, processes, and doing change management. Right? So in my head, the cheat sheet to scale AI effectively, consistently, and at scale involves orchestrations required with people, process, and technology. And I think that in this slide manifests itself into the 9 things that I have seen my peers, my competitors in India, outside India are doing, including some of it that we are trying ourselves. So let's quickly just maybe spend some of these, right? So I think a lot of speakers did say, AI champions needs to come from the C-suite, the OKRs of what you want to accomplish from AI needs to be the goals of the business executives. We are just the enablers. It's not something that we own. It has to be led by the C-suite. So that's very important. When it comes to our own organizations, the skill mix needs to change, right? Typically, if you look at CIO organizations, you have 60-70% of the staff being filled with cybersecurity experts, application engineers, testers. But I think that mix is going to change with a lot of automation. And we are seeing a lot of CIO organization skill set mixes changing like this, with a lot of new skill sets being onboarded. What about the incumbents? The solution architects, the product managers, the software engineers in CIO's organization, their job descriptions needs to change as well. So solution architects can no longer think about, what does my cloud and enterprise software solutioning going to look like? They will have to start up thinking about, and they have started thinking about, how does AI start speaking with the ecosystem? So job descriptions are changing, and that's a reality. The CIOs need to make sure that the company or the enterprise has a AI strategy. I think a lot of the previous speakers did speak about that. One thing that we have learned the hard way is that build modular AI infrastructure in a way that whatever scaling that you have done for business processes, its business continuity should not get impacted if you move away from, let's say, AI infrastructure of Microsoft to AWS to GCP or other way around. So invest in modular, AI architecture so that you're not fully concentrated with one platform. I think a lot of people did speak about AI frameworks. So I'm not going to speak about this. Just want to highlight that this is very important. Having the right generative AI evaluations, right? A lot of, if you look at the examples here, right? You have a sales assistant agent where the metrics is about relevance. Is the agent talking about relevant, truthful product information? But then you have customer care agents that needs to avoid toxicity when it's having a grievance conversation. The HR assistant needs to have evaluations for fairness. So the point that I'm making is that as you scale agents across different business processes, across the value chain, you need to have horses for courses. Similarly, you need to have a good understanding of how do you measure and evaluate the different AI agents meant for different use cases. This is something that all of us struggle with, right? In terms of how do you ensure that data is ready at source so that it can be consumed for AI use cases, and how do you ensure that AI infrastructure has an easy integration with all the legacy technologies that you in your company, and unless we solve for it, then that's where we heard from a lot of people that that's why Gartners and McKinsey's are saying that you scale in a small pocket and you get wins, but you are unable to realize far greater value because of your inability to do integrations. So platformization of AI, right? AI, 2 years back when we all started piloting generative AI, all you needed is ChatGPT. You run some prompts and you get an output and that's it. But if you want to scale, you have to understand it's a software after all, right? You need to make investments in having the different layered architecture around caching, retrieval, databases, logging, monitoring, analytics, just like how you do AI operations at scale. Because unless you do that, you would be able to show short-term wins, but you will not be able to manage the risks associated with AI as well as be able to scale to higher ROIs. This is an example of an implementation that we did last year, and the point that I'm making is you have an LLM, but having an LLM is not enough to do AI implementation. You need to have a lot of components and layers to be built in. I think that as a CIO or a data officer role, it's also important to have a good understanding of how do you manage the cost of AI. Because AI is expensive, right? AI at the moment is expensive, it is becoming cheaper. But if we do not understand, does deployment methods, open source, closed source, how do you do caching? When do you use a large language model or a small language model or a domain specific model? If you don't understand, or if your teams don't understand how to take advantage of these levers, then you will not be able to manage costs. And if you are unable to manage costs, then you are unable to manage ROI. In my experience, this is very important because if you know these levers, it gives you a significantly longer runway for experimentation. Because I think AI is not input and output alone. You need a longer runway of experimentation, and for that, it's important that you know how to manage your costs. That's it. I mean, basically, if I summarize the 3 calls to action, I think experiment AI. Till last year, it was generation. Now it is agentic, like what we heard in the previous presentation. Do that boldly but responsibly. Champion sovereign AI. Be very clear which use cases needs to be guarded, and a lot of that depends on which industry do you work for. And then ultimately do realize that if if you work for traditional enterprises, enterprise AI success is not just about tooling. It is about the orchestration of people, process, technology, and security. So that's it. Thank you everyone for listening me out, and thank you very much. Yeah.